Good evening, everyone. Welcome to I Need Living Conversations. I am Julian Katari. I am having a conversation with Blue Heron Woman. And today we have the 162nd conversation that we have every week. And this week we have the four insights that can help make magic of your life. Four tips, four reflections. We're going to see what it is about. And I love the fact that it sounds like it's something. It's very gift economy to me,
Yeah,
where we are just giving out very price full. Is there a word for that? Very priceless information. Um,
priceless and valuable.
very, yeah, very valuable information for folks out there, and so that they may get inspired, and so that we can help them maybe reach a point where they will decide to join a larger thing, to make that leap into complete freedom, which is what we're here to
Right.
ultimately invite people to. So, welcome everyone and get ready for this amazing transmission and show with Blue Heron Woman.
So these four insights are really the magic, wisdom, power, and grace of being an earth keeper, which comes from the Incan tradition.
Hmm.
And we can free ourselves from the confines of the story that have been written for us by our culture and our domestication process. The story of how we live our lives and react to the world around us and die. Western science believes that the universe works according to a set of precepts or rules which allow us to predict what will happen and respond appropriately to situations. Perhaps the most important rule in science is known as the law of cause and effect, or causality. And this is demonstrated when we watch an apple fall from the tree. We all know that it will hit the ground, or that when a bird poops over our car, it will hit our car. So then we tend to feel really secure in believing that if we apply ourselves and learn all these rules as well as live by them, we'll have maximum control over our lives, and that will make us feel happy and safe. And all of us want to affect the world for better. And because we're a society of rules, we believe that laws and religious commandments will help us make changes. By contrast, the ancient Greeks were a people of the concept. They knew that there was nothing as powerful as an idea or a concept whose time had come. And because they manipulated ideas so elegantly, they were able to invent democracy, develop philosophy, and systemize mathematics. Their Roman neighbors, on the other hand, were great lawmakers. And so the Roman codes have influenced and still are influencing our laws. So when faced with problems, the Greek philosophers conceptualized new systems, while the Romans called on their armies to enforce the precepts or the rules. So as an earth keeper, we don't live by rules or ideas. We change our world by changing the way we perceive a problem and by expanding our consciousness, our mind. So as an earth keeper, you'll learn to experience events in such a way that you'll no longer take life personally, and you will do so at the perceptual level of serpent. Here, things no longer happen to you, they just simply happen. The pigeon didn't poop on the car to make you upset, it just simply poops. Because that's what pigeons do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what birds do in general. So, right. So when my female turkey sits on the hood of my truck and poops, she's not doing it to piss me off. She just does it because that's what she does.
Then we take it all so personal, huh?
Yeah. So when we change our perception of the events we experience, we alter the way the situations live in us. We are no longer the cause or the effect of anything, and we can sense a tremendous relief because the world is exactly as it should be and doesn't need us to fix it. So there are four perceptual or consciousness levels through which we as earth keepers can engage the world. These levels correspond to the four domains of manifestation of vibration and light. that means coming into physicality, right, from the invisible world. So the physical world, our body, the realm of thoughts and ideas, our mind, and the realm of myth, which is our soul, and the world of Great Mother, or the great mysteries, or the 0 point field, or God.
Mm-hmm.
These perceptual levels are stacked inside each other like Russian nesting dolls. And when we shift from one level of perception or consciousness to the next, we retain our ability to function at the lower realm, but now we have a much wider view of what we're experiencing. It's kind of like the difference between the ground level of a 24-story apartment building in New York City as opposed to the
Mm-hmm.
penthouse, right? Or being in the valley as opposed to the mountaintop. This is what the different levels of perception. So we can still operate. Once we've been to the mountaintop, we can come back down to the valley and know what the view was that we saw up there. And function from that level of perception.
Okay.
So when we shift, you're right. Okay. I just said that. When we shift, we can continue to experience the higher, quote, higher levels at the lower realms. So a traveler wandering about came across two stonecutters, and he asked the first one, "What are you doing?" and received the reply, "I'm squaring the stone." So the traveler wanders over to the second stonecutter and asks the same question. This time the reply was, "I'm building a cathedral."
Mm-hmm.
Both men are performing the same task, yet one of them is aware that he has a choice to be a part of a greater dream. And he's dreaming it while he's working. So there's a spirit-filled solution or spiritual solution to every problem we encounter in the physical world, because there has to be, since we're half spirit.
Mm-hmm.
In our mind and in our soul. And we can't eliminate scarcity by getting another job, or heal feelings of abandonment and anger by focusing on mining the depths of our childhood wounds and getting a diagnosis for them. We can only dissolve problems at the level above the one in which they were created. So that takes in this summer, when I was, since for the last 8 months, experiencing all this sickness, this evidence of disease. And I kept getting told by friends and my daughter, "You need to go be seen." No, I don't need to be seen. I don't need to mine the depths of this and get a diagnosis. I need to support my body, and I need to come one level above the level in which it was created, so I can heal it, so I can allow it to heal.
Okay.
Each level is associated with an animal that represents the powers and the abilities we have to influence the reality in that realm. So number one is our body and physical perception consciousness, and this is the level of serpent or snake. The serpent is an instinctual creature with extraordinary senses that it can rely on to tell where there's food and where there's a predator. So similarly, in the physical realm, we rely on our senses to give us a picture of ourselves and the world. And it's a very natural level of perception. It's the most ancient level of perception. And everything is tangible, solid, and difficult to change, where reality is only 1% Great Mother or Holy Mysteries or God or the 0 point field, and the rest is 99% matter.
Mm-hmm.
With the perception or consciousness of serpent snake, we can see, touch, and smell an object in front of us, and we'll know it's there because it's physically present. Language at this level is molecular and chemical. But when we see problems through the eyes of serpent only, we come up with only physical solutions. We want a new job, a new partner, a new car. And if we feel a headache coming on, we label it a migraine and reach for medication. If you're a teacher and your kids act out in class, you label the kid naughty or having ADHD, and you punish the kid or send them for medication. At this level of perception or consciousness, we're sharing the part of our brain that we share with all animals, especially lizards, snakes, and dinosaurs. We're aware of our physical body and not cognizant of our mental, creative, and spiritual self. In this state, we only perceive outer form and accept only the obvious. remaining blind to our feelings and those feelings of others. We're devoid of the rich, complex thinking, and we simply act and react. This state is really useful for operating in the physical world, for paying our bills, for mowing the lawn, etc. But remaining here is like putting one foot in front of the other to get through immediate crises only and continue to just replay. So in this state of consciousness, our reptilian brain is in charge and working only with our survival instincts, getting done what needs to be done without wasting valuable energy thinking about it, analyzing, or getting emotionally distraught. The instincts of serpent or snake are very helpful because they alert us to danger before we consciously perceive it. It's like getting a bad vibe about somebody or a place, or sense there is a cop up the road waiting to catch you, to ticket you, so you take your foot off the gas, and sure enough, there he is. Right? Serpent snake is an essential state to master because we have to be effective in the physical world. However, when we allow our mind to survive at all costs, this state of mind to dominate, we're not very pleasant to be around. We reach for the most literal signs of security, like having a big bank account and material toys, and we give in to greediness, stinginess, and suspicion. We coil up and contract, striking before the other guy can clobber us. We amass weapons and we build fences in this level of perception. So what level do we think our incoming president is in? Right. Unfortunately, the most of us have lived up at this level for thousands of years, and many people who take the Bible and the Quran literally are exclusively in this realm. It's incredibly important for us to take our perception, our consciousness up a notch, to widen it, to broaden the spectrum, to allow our broadband to widen for any computer geek that. Right? Because serpent, it's for the good of ourselves and others, because serpent is the cold-blooded domain of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So next level is the mind and emotional perception with the consciousness of Jaguar. In this perceptual consciousness state of Jaguar, our mind interprets our reality. We recognize that the mind can create psychosomatic diseases or restore health, and that repressed anger can result in a cancer, and that positive attitude brings joy and peace to ourselves and others around us. In the state of Jaguar, in the perception level of Jaguar, we look at a loaf of bread and we know that it came from fields of wheat and the baker, and we actually think about its many possibilities. So in short, we understand that we have choices, and we also know that those choices are limited by our beliefs about bread. But we can also comprehend the bread's symbolic meanings, and we understand that it represents life, as in the bread of life, or we use the term white bread community to denote a community where only white people live. We also know that white bread denotes a person who lacks personality. And we say, I have no bread, to express a lack of money. So a loaf of bread in the state of Jaguar represents much more than the satisfaction of our hunger, just as having sex represents more than the satisfaction of a need. The realm of beliefs, ideas, and emotions is associated with the Jaguar because this type of perception or consciousness can suddenly transform situations, causing them to be seen in a new light. The Jaguar's instincts are way different than those of the serpent. Jaguars are curious and inquisitive, so our cat instincts lead us to the right people and situations. Jaguar perception consciousness is associated with the mammalian brain and that of emotion and deep feelings of love, intimacy, family, caring, and compassion. Yet it's also the brain of aggressions, superstition, amulets, charms, Nostradamus, and Genghis Khan. The language at this level is the spoken or written words, which we use to form words and express ideas, beliefs, and feelings. So here we understand signs and symbols and agree that certain sounds are words that mean something specific. So in this level of perception, we recognize that we can give a hungry man a fish, but the more practical long-term solution is to teach him how to fish so he can go get fish when he needs them. In this level of perception, if we experience a migraine, we ask, what could be the cause? What is my body trying to tell me? And so through Jaguar, then we look at the eyes of the child who's acting out in class and ask, is he or she really unable to keep his or her hands to themselves, and why? And why are they acting out? Why are they, right? So at this level, we have many more possibilities that we're able to make effective changes with and solve more complex issues. And we also recognize that when Jaguar is content, he or she lays at the bottom of the tree with the tail twitching, calmly watching, but when Jaguar's in the top of the tree, it's ready to pounce because it's spied danger.
Oh. Wow.
So we got to learn to bring Jaguar down out of the tree.
Okay.
The next level is the soul and sacred perception of hummingbird. The language of this level is image, music, poetry, and dreams. It's the realm of myth where our soul can experience itself on a journey, symbolized by the hummingbird who flies, the little tiny hummingbird who flies from Brazil to the US every year.
Wow.
Although tiny, this bird manages to navigate thousands of miles in its yearly migration from Canada to Brazil and from Brazil to Canada again. It never loses its sense of direction or its drive to press forward, and never wonders if it has enough strength for its voyage or if there will be food for it to eat. It just flies.
Mm-hmm.
In this domain of the mythic, we are all like hummingbird and on a grand voyage and yearning to drink only of the nectar of life, which hummingbird does, drinks only of the honey of the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
In this level, we perceive all of our experiences as an epic journey. The hummingbird perceptual consciousness state is associated with our neocortex, the newest addition to our human brains, and it's the CEO of our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's our ability to reason, visualize, and create. And at this level, solutions we can't solve with the mind suddenly become evident. At this level of the soul, things are what they truly are, an expression of all the holy ones who've gone before us, the holy mothers, all our mothers, the 0 point field.
Mm.
At this level, we listen below the surface of conversations to hear the hidden messages. We operate in metaphor here. So if we have a migraine, we ask ourselves, am I going out of my mind? What thoughts are stuck in my head? Oh, whose pain might this be? Because at this level, we understand that our brain is a transmitter-receiver and all our DNA is a transmitter-receiver. So we might be receiving someone else's pain.
Mm-hmm.
And what can I do to support my body through this? And when we're a teacher and we see an overly active child, we ask ourselves, how is this problem a positive opportunity? So at this level of growth, we sense we're on a continual journey of growth and healing, making a trek to where we were born to be, complete, whole perfection. Hummingbird is a much more commanding sphere for bringing about change than Jaguar is. In Jaguar, we recite affirmations. In Hummingbird, we visualize. And when we want to ensure that our future holds a desirable outcome, we need to visualize it only once from the consciousness perceptual state of Hummingbird, as opposed to repeating thousands of affirmations. But it takes practice to get to this level. It's not instantaneous. It takes a lot of repetition and practice to get to this level. That's what the shaman I learned this from doesn't tell you. He makes you think you can just shift levels instantaneously. You can't. Until you've trained yourself to be at hummingbird level, you can't. But only one visualization doesn't work. So number 4, the spiritual perception divine perception level of consciousness is ego. And as the eagle soars above the valleys, he or she is able to visually take in the trees, the rocks, the river, and even the curvature of the earth. Yet he or she is able to spot a mouse 2,000 feet below and dive to grab it without missing it. He or she is able to see the fish floating below the surface of the water and come up out of the water with the fish in its talons. The ability to see this bigger picture and a tiny piece of it at the same time are representative of this level. So in the level of ego, reality is 99% consciousness and only 1% matter. So therefore, matter can shift itself quite rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
The language is energy. The brain associated with this level is the prefrontal cortex. At this level, we don't expend much energy to affect change. Downstream, we see war, but upstream, we see the unrest that will carry us to war. And this is where it's very easy to affect change. From hummingbird, we insist on recycling. From eagle, we make the choice to stop purchasing and participating in the things that need to be recycled.
Mm-hmm.
In the levels below eagle, we figure out a way to prevent war or pollution and heal those who feel disenfranchised or change those who insist on throwing away garbage. And while in eagle, we simply become peace, happiness, and harmony. And know that that will affect change. And we're going to get into this more because we're going to talk about the zero-pointed field, which is God herself.
Okay.
So insight number 1 at the level of serpent is the way of the hero. To be a hero means you're the author of your own myth. When we walk the way of the hero, everything we have experienced helps us in finding our inner strength and compassion. We do this by shedding the stories of our past as the snake sheds her skin. In the process, we will cease being a victim of what happened to us and instead become empowered to write our own valiant tale of beauty, strength, and whole, complete perfection. We no longer have to be the misunderstood artist, the tough rebel with the heart of gold, the innocent who's been betrayed, or the child of the abusive parent. We will find out with this insight that those are merely character roles that we created to explain our life. And our personal stories are just yarns that we've spun. They're not us. Suffering occurs when we believe these yarns, these stories that we've spun to be true, whether we created them ourselves or someone created them for us, and we confuse them with reality. The characters we've created become like hungry ghosts feeding off our scraps. We might really work hard, spending years in therapy to understand and negotiate with these ghosts because we believe that they're genuine, but their complaints, demands, and thirst for attention are endless, and they never shut up. If we continue to feed these hungry ghosts, they will suck the life force right out of us. But when we banish these ghosts from our table and let go of our stories about what is wrong or right, what is appropriate, best, or more, we'll feel free to explore the mystery of ourselves. But how long have we worked overtime to meet the requirements of our story? The first insight is associated with serpent, our physical body, the material world, and sensory perception. And as we master this, we begin to see beyond the most simplistic, literal level of reality. When we shed these stories that we've created, we can create a new one that's better suited to a hero's journey. And we begin to see the divine choreography of events in our past that have propelled us on our journey. Our stories are so powerful and convincing because they become lodged in our muscle tissue, fascia, as cellular memory. So when we somatize these tales, the way we walk and talk changes. Whatever image of who you are in your story, you will embody it and people will respond to you as such. So your biography becomes your biology.
Mm-hmm.
We all like to cling to our tales because we derive some benefit from them. And even when they cause us suffering, we cling to them. They become our prison and our prison warden. Usually the main payoff is our ego being able to be a star if we remain part of the drama. Our egos have a very strong survival instinct and will do just about anything to stay alive. It fights our longings to be the whole, complete perfection that we truly are, and insists on its need to be right. Our ego convinces us that if we let go of our story, we won't be loved, we won't be valued, we won't be recognized or seen, and we might even disappear. Another benefit of clinging to our stories is that they give us a false sense of security and purpose. And then we find ourselves repeating the same drama over and over and over again with different jobs, different partners, and friends. And so our stories become the death sentence of our true self,
Mhm.
the hero within. So every story has a cast of leading characters who play certain roles. And when we practice the way of the hero, we can drop the limiting characters we identify with and their beliefs. Your characters become what you do, not who you are. So then you walk your journey of life, dance your dance of life, not possessed by what is ultimately unimportant. Each role we play comes with a bundle of beliefs and a bag full of expectations. And when those beliefs and expectations aren't met by others or the world, we get disappointed and take it personally. So when we shed negative, unoriginal stories like my mother was selfish and neglected me, we can then love and accept her as she is. When we burn the role of being our mother's daughter or our mother's son, we can just then be in communion with her,
Mm.
in relation with her, without that expectation of needing her to mother us.
Mhm.
And we stop wishing that our past had been different, and we can do away with psychotherapy. When we let go of our roles, we can do what Santa Madre, or Holy Mother, has called us to do, which is
Mhm.
fulfill our fullest, fulfill her in our full, right? Show her to the world in our most fulfilling life, because she
Mm.
is us. She
Mhm.
expresses herself through us. So the three characters of all our stories is called the triangle of disempowerment, or the
Mhm.
drama triangle. These characters are the victim, the perpetrator, and the rescuer. In the indigenous world, they would be the conquistador, the priest, and the Indian, or the white colonizer.
Mhm.
The Indian would be the victim of the conquistador, who is the perpetrator. The priest functions as the rescuer who tries to help the poor Indian with the promise of an afterlife. And when we live within the script of our stories, we create what is known as a trauma bond with the leading actors in our tale, because we connect with them from our wounded self. In our stories, then, we always act out one of these roles and switch characters as the story unfolds. So, and I've experienced this in myself. I have watched myself spin the corners of the triangle in the same story in the same 15 minutes. I've watched
Mhm.
myself do this. Right. So healing for all is most likely to occur when one of us chooses to step out of the character, out of this story. And the problem is that we expend so much energy acting out these dramas that we become blind to our purpose and unable to achieve any growth. We are not here to continually reenact the unhealed part of our narratives and define ourselves by what happened in the past. And this is for anyone who knows the story of the Uruguayan rugby team that went down in their aircraft in the Andes.
Mhm.
The Fernando, the one guy who walked out. The first thing his father said to him at the hospital, after he'd been missing all winter,
Mhm.
right, stuck in the Andes in the snow, and he hiked his way out into Chile. His father met him at the hospital, and he said, "Don't let this define you." Fernando is
Don't
the
let this
only.
define you.
Don't let this define you. Fernando is the only one of the whole team that was rescued who didn't go on to become an alcoholic and have a shit ton of problems.
Oh, you know the story after.
Oh, I read Fernando's book. I listened to
Oh,
on
wow.
Audible, and then I read the book. It's an incredibly thick book, and it's an incredibly stirring story.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know that part. I mean, that's such a famous story.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Okay.
Nando's father told him, do not let this define you, as opposed to
Hmm.
veterans who come back and are told to let their stories define them, basically,
Oh, that's the
right? You'll
opposite.
never be
Okay.
rid of PTSD. Let PTSD define you.
They do that on purpose, don't they?
Absolutely, they do it on purpose.
Mm.
So when we step outside of these stories, we let go of judgments toward others. For example, if I say, I feel misunderstood by you, I'm telling you that my interpretation of your behavior is that you're doing something wrong to me. This is
Hmm.
judgment masquerading as a feeling. Outside of the story, I could tell you the things I need instead of blaming you for the way I feel. So a healing journey won't progress if we can't discard these old myths that we've been hearing for millennia. And when we choose to walk away from all that we thought we were supposed to do or be in order to be loved and respected by others, we become the actor instead of the reactor, the myth maker instead of the myth perpetuator. And then we can bring the sacred to every moment and render our experiences as epic. We can do this when we recognize that every story is a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we tell our tale in such a way that we reclaim our nobility and power, we are walking the hero's journey. All of us, regardless of our religion or non-religion, have internalized our culture's Judeo-Christian Catholic story of being cast out of paradise when we were separated from our divine creators. This bankrupt story permeates our lives, whether we're raised in a religious home or not, causing us a great deal of suffering. So if we wish to heal our wounds on every level, it's important to discard this myth and come up with a new one. This legend is the original story featuring the serpent and Eve as perpetrators, Adam as the victim, and the grace of Mary's son Jesus, who had to die to rescue us from Eve and the serpent. Because we buy into this story, we baptize babies lest they suffer punishment for the stain of original sin of evil that they were born with, and the sin of our original mothers who gave rise to all our mother complexes. And finally, in the myth of Jesus as rescuer, keeps us separate from our own divinity, causing us to depend on an outside force to deliver us from a curse cast upon us as punishment for the sins of our ancestors. So when we choose to free ourselves from this old myth of a fall from grace, we're able to discover the original Eden in nature and feel comfortable, the Eden or paradise, and feel comfortable in that home. We've been conditioned to think of the natural world as beautiful and awe-inspiring, yet frightening, unlike the protected, cultivated Garden of Eden. As children, we were taught that the forest is filled with witches and tricky wolves who prey on little girls. As adults, we believe that the great outdoors is populated by violent animals who would tear us limb from limb, or little ones that will give us rabies or Lyme disease, and that Mother Nature is fickle and cruel, randomly attacking us with tidal waves, lightning storms, earthquakes, and tornadoes that violently snatch all we love away from us. And on this note, I can tell the story of my neighbor coming across the street last week, because there were a few of my 30 to 40 pound to 50-pound piglets in his yard, and he was so afraid they were going to tear his 70-pound dog apart, that they were going to attack his 70-pound dog. And all you have to do is say boo to a piglet and it'll run. It'll go bah and run.
It's just an excuse to mess with you, I guess.
No, he truly didn't. No, it was all I could do. I think my jaw literally hit the ground, and it was all I could do to keep from saying, you need to go back to the city where you came from.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I've realized from raising pigs that I even know pigs in the wild, and they're not to be feared because they really fear us more than, I mean, all you got to do is make a loud noise and they're going to bark and run away.
Mm-hmm.
But we have this story of, oh my God, if you walk in the woods and you see pig markings, that means that the boar is going to attack you at any minute and he's going to rip you open with his tusks. Well, no, I watch my boars all the time. They toss piglets, and they rip the ears of their sows and the piglets, but they don't cause huge damage like we've been taught to believe they will. And I'm like, you know what? I know pigs. I don't have to be scared.
Yeah.
Right? So we see nature as something to be conquered and tamed, like a well-pruned bush or meticulously manicured lawn, instead of, right, natural. So when we choose to let go of the story that nature is dangerous, that pigs are dangerous and will attack us at any minute, we can discover that we never left paradise, the Garden of Eden. And while we may currently believe that God created nature, we probably don't believe that divinity resides within the trees, the oceans, the cliffs, the animals, the mountains, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, and rain and snow, when divinity, in fact, is very much a part of those. In fact, most of us don't realize that despite all those exquisite paintings of a celestial heaven that fill our museums and inspire the imagination, Jesus actually said that the kingdom of heaven is all around us right now. So similarly, the Laika of the Incans believe that the kingdom of heaven is within and without and inside us, above us, below us, and all around us. And it's our inability to perceive it that makes us outcasts, and blindness that causes us to suffer. We are all still living in the lush garden of the divine, but understanding this intellectually from the level of jaguar isn't enough. If we're going to experience it as paradise, we have to feel it in every cell and bone of our body from the level of hummingbird. And this is when we are in Aini with nature. When we are in Aini, we don't have to fear nature. It's only when we're out of balance that we might be killed by a lightning bolt or a panther or a microbe. In fact, there's no difference between being killed by a panther or a microbe. It's all the same. So when we're in Aini, we're no longer part of their food chain. Not as a living being. We are part of their food chain when we die. When we leave our bodies. But so Earthkeeper, the magic of Earthkeeper practices are based on the idea of realigning ourselves with nature, coming into balance, and allowing our natural innate state of health to be restored. When we live in Aini, paradise is our home, and physical, mental, and emotional health is our birthright, and we discover that we never left paradise or the Garden of Eden. When we walk with beauty on the earth, we come to realize that to be in harmony with the garden is that we choose to drop the story, the myth of being banished from our original nature, and that we can talk, and that we're separate from the holy ones. And now we know that we can talk to the holy ones, the rivers, the trees, the rocks, and expect them to answer us. And then we choose to believe that, to stop believing that we're doomed to remain an outcast forever. And we become the creator of our reality, a storyteller of our lives.
Wow.
So perception level 1, the spirit keeper of the south is Sachamama, snake, serpent, the way of the hero. Again, the way of the hero is to be the creator of our own myth. So we must remember that none of our stories are true. They're simply scripts we've created. They're not our lives. And they keep us living in the past, stuck in a scripted role. And just as, okay, so exercise with this. A lot of it is repeat. I just realized I repeated a lot of, okay. So to burn the roles.
Mhm.
So to sit with yourself and go, what are my roles? And when I did this the first time, I didn't understand it. Why am I doing what I'm doing? But so I have two daughters. So I'm her mother. I'm her mother. I'm the daughter of my mother. I'm the daughter of my father. I have three older sisters. So, right, these are all roles. I'm Nancy's sister. I'm Belinda's sister. I'm Sandra's sister. I'm the youngest child. I'm a nurse. I'm a this. I'm a that. Everything you classify yourself as are these roles that you've cast yourself. And when you burn them, you write them on a piece of paper.
Mhm.
You can do this with a candle and a toothpick and small pieces of paper. You can do it out by the fire. And you write the role down and you wrap it around a stick and light the stick on fire and think of all the emotions, allow all the emotions and expectations that come up with that role to flow into the stick and allow it to burn. You're freeing yourself of that role so you can just be there, in my case, as Alexis's
Mhm.
friend. And the mothering stops.
Okay. You have to stop being a mother and begin being a friend.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or just be another human, right? Just right, because
Which is already a big thing. It's already.
yeah, right. Because then when she leaves, I'm not devoid of, oh my God, I have an empty nest. I don't know what to do without my daughter. Right. Because our identities get all wrapped up in being the mother of our kids or the father of our kids or the sisters of or the brothers of it, right? Or the sons or daughters of our parents who have
And we
problems.
fall into a fixed archetype.
Yes,
And not.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So there are 4 practices that make up the way of the hero and bring us freedom from our story. And number 1 is the practice of non-judgment. So we make sense of our world by judging situations as right or wrong, good or bad, according to rules defined by our cultures, which we know as our moral code. So an earthkeeper is actually amoral,
Mhm.
meaning not held by any mores. It's spelled MORE, but
Mm.
it's pronounced MORAY, right?
Okay.
Which is dogma. It's another word for dogma. When we practice non-judgment, we refuse to automatically go along with others' opinions of any situation. In doing so, we acquire a sense of ethics that transcends the mores, the dogma of our time, or in German, that would be the Zeitgeist, the spirit of the time.
Mhm.
When you refuse to collude with the consensual, you have a different perspective. You find what freedom means for you personally, not what was delivered by whomever. You discover that freedom is more than being able to choose a particular SUV or an item from a menu in the restaurant or a beer from the local beer garden or
Mhm.
which day of the week you're going to the gym. Your judgment or which gym you're going to. Your judgments are assumptions that are based in what you were told and what you learned. For instance, most of us collude with the belief that cancer is a deadly disease. So if your doctor says you have it, you become terrified and die when he says you will. When you practice non-judgment, you might believe that your body is perfectly capable of healing itself and so support it as it does. Or you might reject the automatic belief that the diagnosis of cancer from the doctor means you're going to have to battle for life. You simply allow yourself to embrace the unknown, going along with its unlimited possibilities. When you practice non-judgment, you no longer have illnesses, you have opportunities for healing and growth. You no longer have past traumas, you have events that sharpen your edges and shaped who you are today. And so then you can create a story of strength and compassion. The next practice is the practice of non-suffering. This means not writing stories of our pain. We make ourselves available to learn directly from the infinite wisdom of the universe and no longer have to endure the same misfortunes over and over again. Suffering happens when we wrap a story around facts. Once we let go of suffering, and there's a big difference between pain and suffering. You can have pain without suffering. You can suffer without pain. Right? So we can stop, once we let go of needing to suffer, we can stop learning our lessons through traumas, conflicts, and bad luck, and we begin to learn directly from knowledge itself. Number 3 is the practice of non-attachment. To practice this, we let go of the roles and that we've bought into and the labels that others and that have stuck on us and that we've stuck on ourselves. Right? Our goal is to stop identifying with any story whatsoever. We are then self-referencing and no longer need a fable to define and discover who we are. When we shed all of our stories with their limiting roles and confining identities, we become a mystery unto ourselves, and we are practicing non-attachment. We are large, we contain multitudes. And number 4 is the practice of beauty. To practice beauty is to perceive loveliness even when there's ugliness. When we see beauty all around us, beauty will seek and find us, even in the most unexpected places.
So even in what we think is ugly, we will find beauty.
Yeah.
And that's that expansion that brings magic, where we allow ourselves to see beyond what we had our limits on seeing.
Right.
Wow, this is really nice, really profound. And we have a guest here, Aya Navin from he is from NAS, from the New and Ancient.
Right, New and Ancient
He's
Story.
been
Yeah.
sharing some messages and saying hello. So hello to you.
Cool. Cool.
Hello,
Cool.
Aya.
Hello.
He's been watching the last minutes. And well, so it's amazing to have him here. And anyone that truly is in the search for freedom, for true beauty, for going into the next era of humanity. Do you believe in that? If you're listening to this, not you, I am, but somebody else, if somebody else is listening to this, I have this question for you. Do you believe that we can actually go into a different stage of humanity, of mankind, of society, where we don't have so much war and so much ugliness? So we believe that's possible, and we are now focused, or not just focused. We have given our lives to that purpose.
What happened? There we go. I hit a button I wasn't supposed to hit. Imagine that. Right. Yeah. No, we're actually, I mean, we're moving even beyond the so much war as to no war and no demonized, marginalized people like gang members and the inner city poor folks that we all that create the second world of all of our countries, the forgotten world.
So just to finish and let everyone know that there is something you can do, that you can't come into that world. It's not by means of isolation.
Right.
Rather, it's by going beyond what you used to allow yourself to imagine, to think and to imagine. So now you can imagine that we can actually all solve everything. We can all come together, but we need to come together. That's that first step to get out of the isolationist paradigm, out of the individualistic paradigm. Right. I can do this on my own. I can whatever, and come together with us. So join us in Aloha Nidau Living. Join us in the next week's conversation. What are we talking about next week?
Well, I was going to continue on with perception level 2 and then go into invoking the powers of the Sphinx, to will and to dare, and maybe talk about shape-shifting. But I think before we do that, we need to truly understand. A long time ago, we talked about how I introduced how science has discovered that there is a God, and they call it the ultimate principle or the absolute. Right. I think we need to go into the 0 point field, which is God herself, which is Holy Mother, to truly get an understanding because we can't move past the isolationist paradigm unless we get an understanding of how the 0-point field or God herself works.
Wow. Wow. So a crucial piece of information for next week. What would be a short title for that? Well, not so short, maybe.
Field or the 0-point field?
The 0-point field. Okay. So that's going to be next week's topic. The void, says Aya. What do you think
You
about
could
the
call
void?
it the void, right?
Okay. I like the 0-point field or the void. Yeah. Well,
0-point field or God herself.
okay. Wow. Never thought of it like that. Well, I did, but never heard of it like that. That's okay. So that's next week, 6:30, same time, Central Standard Time.
Yes.
Nothing else to say except thank you, Aya, and thank you everyone or anyone that gave their time and opened to be here. And thanks, Blue Heron Woman. Aya says gratitude for the fire which burns in each of our hearts. So gratitude for that.
And that will be the perfect topic. The 0-point field will be a perfect topic for delving into the abyss of the solstice, the winter solstice.
Oh, so we are celebrating the solstice. That's true. We're gonna be on that date. Okay.
The 18th next week. So
big moment coming up in
Yeah.
time. A lot of things might happen. A lot of expectations. Lots of magic playing everywhere. And here we are cooking our own pot of magic.
I think this is really speaking to me. We need this before we hit 2025 and a new president that's an old president.
The same old president. Same old president. Yeah, we do need.
I think there's some huge. I know there's some huge changes that are coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we feel them, we see them, and it will come to the point when everybody's gonna look our way because they're gonna start looking for. Wait, oh, now we realize that we need to start building the new and stop. But the way to stop the old is by building a new, and they're gonna start looking at
like
who's building the
Fuller
new.
said, don't fight the old, just build the new, and that's what we're doing.
And they're gonna be looking for who's doing that, and they're gonna find us.
Yep.
So big things are coming for those who are on the way, on the path. So everybody's invited to be here and to join, to be ready for that. Okay, so with anything else to say, let's say goodbye.
Yep.
Goodbye, Aya, and goodbye, Blue Heron Woman, and we'll see each other next week. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.